What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode here of House Divided. I know it's been a while. We took a little break for the holidays, took 2 weeks off, but we're back here again, right in this great stretch of football. We got, what is it, 5 days in a row of football, one college game today and tomorrow, and then
Uh,
three NFL playoff days.
yeah, it's the better holiday weekend now. It's football playoff weekend is what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been a while. We got to witness a lot of great football over the last couple of weeks that we didn't get to analyze, but now we're going to be looking forward to this weekend and this big games. Let's start it off with the big game. What's his name? CJ Stroud facing off against a man he could never beat when they were in college. He faces off against Jim Harbaugh and his Chargers and that Jesse Minter defense. The Chargers are favored on the road. What do we expect from this game?
I think it'll be a very, it could be a blowout for the Chargers, but a close game, I will say. I think it's going to be both teams leaning on the run, especially Houston needs to lean on the run to keep this game close because they have a lot of receiver injuries and they've been struggling with the passing game. So I think they need to lean on Joe Mixon. He's been started off great to the year, but obviously fell off a little the last couple of weeks of the year. So need to lean on him. And I think the Chargers will pull it out and win this one on the road due to their defense, and I just trust their passing game more as well as their running game's equal to Houston. So I am going to pick the Chargers to not pull off an upset because they're favored by 3, but to beat Houston in Houston.
Yeah, I agree. I think Stroud stays winless against Harbaugh. I think that Jesse Minter defense shuts him down again. The way he's turned that defense around, and I think they can stop both the Texans' passing and rushing offense. I think it comes down to just that defense, and obviously offensively, I think Justin Herbert's having more momentum right now, especially with Lambeau Lad than C.J. Stroud right now, who's been struggling. So because of that, I do think the Chargers come in and take the win in Houston uh, and keep Stroud's losing streak going this week.
I think also something to note is I think Harbaugh was able to shut down those talented Ohio State receivers when against CJ Stroud. And here, I think he'll scheme something up to kind of slow down Nico Collins and force the other receivers to beat him because
Yeah.
they're Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, obviously.
Plus, Nico Collins used to play for Jim Harbaugh, so he knows him. He knows his tendencies and what he likes to do. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. See how well. I mean, obviously the inverse is true. Nico Collins knows Jim Harbaugh, so we'll see how that relationship and how the chess match goes between those two during the game as well.
Speaking of a chess match, we got a matchup of these two teams that split the regular season meeting, a divisional game. They know each other very well, and they play chess with each other every year. We got Ravens versus Steelers. Who prevails here in this snowy game in Baltimore?
I wish I could be a homer here and say it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do think it'll be closer than people expect because it is a Steelers-Ravens game. But at the end of the day, right now, today, just because of what I've seen the last 4 weeks from both of these teams, I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think this is the Steelers team that beat the Ravens earlier in the year anymore. And that was a close game. And while the Ravens, I don't think they'll be able to take control the way they did in the last game against Pittsburgh. They will be without Zay Flowers this week. The news came out. So I do think that hampers the passing game. And I do think Pittsburgh will be a little bit better. They'll get George Pickens back. And TJ Watt was knocked. He was hurt that game. He played hurt, but he did play. So because of that, I do think it'll be closer than it was during the second matchup. But however, I still think Pittsburgh hasn't gotten anything going offensively since that game against Cincinnati, the first one. And I do think they'll manage to struggle again enough to keep it close, but not to win. I do think it comes down to that Baltimore rushing game being able to control the game, which I think they'll be able to do again this time like they did last time. And Pittsburgh hasn't really been able to stop them. Even the defense hasn't been as solid as it had been lately. But I do think they'll be able to turn it around better than last time.
Yeah, this is kind of typical Steelers season as it's gone these past couple years, where they start off really hot and uh, rack up the wins, and at the end, near the playoffs, kind of drop some losses, and
Yeah.
that always make the playoffs and one round exit. Obviously, I liked our beginning of the season, but this losing streak has been a little bit.
Concerning. Yeah.
Yes, but I think, like you said, it'll be a close game because it's a divisional match, and these teams know well each other, and they're evenly matched for the most part. So I think it'll be a close game, but I am going to pick the Ravens
Yeah,
to
me too.
win. I think Derrick Henry. I think Lamar's going to run the ball more. Obviously, playoffs he runs it more, so I think he'll have a big rushing game and really be the difference. Even though Zay Flowers is going to be out.
Yeah, I mean, people say like the Lamar thing. I do think that I don't think they'll make the Super Bowl this year again, but I do think he'll be able to do enough this game. For the Steelers, you talked about their historic tendencies over the last 4 or 5 years, and I do think that's true. Well, I don't think they're going to get blown up as they have been, how they were by Kansas 2 years ago and Buffalo last year. I do think it'll be closer than that, namely because it's the Ravens and it's a divisional matchup, and they know how to play them no matter the situation of who's playing and who's not. Um, and yeah, I mean, this is just the same Steelers team as always, really. And I do think, I mean, I don't know if you saw the meme where it's two hallways and it says start horrible or start fantastic. And then they lead to the same room and it says 10-7 first round exit. And that's just so true of the Steelers in this Mike Tomlin era, really since the Killer Bees, that's how they've been. And I do not think that streak ends this weekend for them.
Yeah, unless some miraculous injury happens to Lamar, I think the Ravens got this one.
Yeah.
Moving to another game that has a high spread, 8.5 for this one. The Steelers are underdogs of 9.5. The Broncos. Can the Broncos shock the Bills in Buffalo in front of Bills Mafia?
That last week, I want to take a look at these last 2 weeks for the Broncos. They had that big 38-0 win over Kansas City, which is very impressive. You can say the backups were in, but that's still 38 points. That's hard to do. But I want to take a closer look to that game against Cincinnati, which showed me that they can show out offensively and score. Great game. It did raise concerns for the defense, and I do think that this Buffalo offense can do that and hold them better than that Cincinnati defense. So while I do think that spread could be a little misleading and the game will be closer, I do think Buffalo comes out on top, and Josh Allen does Josh Allen things, but Bo Nix is going to play a great game.
Yeah, I think it'll be honestly a high-scoring game. We saw Bo Nix kind of deal the ball last weekend against the Chiefs. Granted, like you said, it's a backup, but they're still NFL players. It's still impressive. The Bills recently defensively have been a little concerning, allowing 40-plus points to the Lions and Rams. Obviously, they're great offenses, but it's still concerning. You don't want your defense giving up 40-plus points to anyone. Denver has the capability to put up 40-plus, but I just think, obviously, I like Denver's defense a little bit better, but I just like Josh Allen and that Bills offense better. And that running game with James Cook and Ray Davis, Ray Davis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ray Davis and little 1-2 punch. They've been kind of splitting carries these last couple weeks. So I am going to take the Bills. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a blowout, but I'm just going to say it's going to be a close game.
I think it's going to be a close game too. Mainly just because I think the Broncos offense can keep up for a while at least. And if not, I do think they can scare them in the end if Buffalo had gone away from them for a while. So that's let's take things over to the NFC. We got a little rematch from the Brazil no green allowed game. Green versus green, Eagles versus Packers. What are you looking forward to in this game, and who do you ultimately have coming out on top?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions in this game. We don't know if Jalen Hurts is for sure playing. They're looking optimistic. Jordan Love is a little more in the positive direction that he is going to play, but still 2 question marks when it comes to quarterback play. I think if they both play, I'm going to take the Eagles. But if Jordan Love plays and Hurts doesn't, I'm going to pick the Packers. There's a lot to see here, but I'm going to take the Eagles because even if Jalen Hurts isn't there, they could still win it by leaning on Saquon, having that historic season and that offensive line who's opening up those big holes for them. And I think it's just going to be, even if both quarterbacks play, just a running attack from both teams because they both have had great running seasons with Josh Jacobs and Saquon. I think they're the, the two of the top three rushers in the league this year. And I think they both have a big game, and it's just who's going to run the ball better. And at the end of the day, I trust the guy who just put up 2,000 yards and that offensive line in the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree. If so, what my original headline, this is not the headline I'm going with. We'll get into those later, but I did have the Eagles fly high. I obviously decided to move against that because I wasn't sure if obviously the Jalen Hurts situation has led to the concern of me removing said headline and going with the one I ended up going with. I'm going to stick with you. I think if either Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee is the starting quarterback this game, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. And I do think Jalen Hurts leads the Philadelphia Eagles team for a win. Either way, even if Daniels, Pickett, or McKee is in, or not Daniels, sorry, Hurts, Pickett, or McKee is in, I want to see them give it to Saquon. I want to see them rush the ball. And honestly, I think you got to focus on that because even if you have Hurts in there, he's not going to be at 100%. And that's what I want to see from the Eagles. From the Packers, I want to see that defense stand up the way they've been able to in some big moments this year. Obviously, the loss last week is concerning. I know Malik Willis was in for a good amount of it. I want to see how Jordan Love comes back because it was an arm injury as well. That's always concerning when it's a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick to your answer of it depends on the quarterback who plays.
I think right now it says it's very hopeful Jordan Love will play, and then it's still questionable, but I did hear he did practice yesterday.
Yeah, I did too.
To see if he was full on today, but I don't think those reports have come out yet.
And if for some reason both backups play, I'm going Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm going Philadelphia. Both backups play. If Love plays and the backup Eagles play,
yeah.
I'm going to Green Bay. If both starters play, I'm taking Philadelphia.
I agree with I think we're in agreement there in all three situations.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the NFC game on Sunday night. Can the rookie Jane Daniels lead his team past the Bake Show?
I'm going to say this is my fantasy quarterback. We almost won a championship, and I wish I could say yes for Jaden, but right now we got a little guest. We'll get him on sometime, some other later. Right now I'm gonna say no. I like the Bake Show. I like what they're doing. I love the energy I saw when they were 30 seconds left in the game. They could have jeopardized everything with a pick or something. Love the energy from that team. I do think Bake Show, Mike Evans, that offense can score on anybody. So I am taking Tampa Bay. Baker's proven to be able to win in the playoffs before. He did it last year. And he did it in Cleveland against Big Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. That's a hard place to play. So I am taking the Buccaneers.
Just agreeing a lot today, but also there's a lot of teams we like here. But
Yeah.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to take the Bucs. I guess, again, it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. Two very powerful offense, very talented QBs with a lot of weapons. But at the end of the day, I like what the Bucs have been doing the ball to Mike Evans, but also using Bucky Irving out of the backfield more in the passing game, but also as the main rusher. And he's been having some great weeks to end the year. So I think if they have him involved like they have been these last couple of weeks, the Bucs should take care of business at home. And we saw last year how Baker led this Bucs team almost to an NFC Championship.
Yeah,
was winning that game in Detroit. So Baker's just made for those type of games. So I'm going to take Baker Mayfield here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's unfazed. And they've already won some big games this year. I mean, earlier in the year, they're one of the teams that have already beat Detroit. So, it's nice to see a team. Obviously, there's no Chris Godwin anymore, but it's nice to see a team that can do that. I think they can win really against any team if they can beat Detroit.
Yeah.
So I do think they'd be Commanders this week.
Yeah, even with Godwin being out, we've seen the emergence of McMillan.
Yeah.
Receiver had a great catch this last weekend on tiptoe and had another TD catch called back, and then right away scores another toe tap in the end zone. So he's been nice revelation. So next year when Godwin comes back, that's a great
Trio right there, yeah.
pack for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Baker's really earned this contract they've given him. He's had a great year here for the Bake Show. Hate to say that for a Lake Travis OU guy, but and a Cleveland guy. I hate to say that, but he's had a great year. Moving on to what I think is honestly the biggest game of the weekend. Two of my favorite teams in the NFC this year. The Vikings, obviously after their loss in the 1-seed matchup, travel all the way to Los Angeles to a team where they played this year. It was controversial. It's one of the Vikings' losses. The face mask. We're getting a rematch of that game on Thursday night. We're getting this game on a Monday night. What are we looking forward to this game? And what do you think's going to happen?
I don't like this matchup for being in the wild card. These are two teams that I would have picked to make some noise, but here they are facing each other.
It's like last year when the Rams had to play Detroit.
Yeah, two very hot teams that can get hot easily, very well-talented offenses and defenses, but I'm going to pick the Vikings, even though I like the Rams so much. I am going to take even now I'm still flipping.
Dude, I was flipping until we were ready to record. I was still flipping. I could see this going either way, but I'll get more take your turn. I'll go later.
Yeah, I'm gonna regret it and take the Rams here now. Vikings coming off a tough loss, big game. Rams coming off rest. Rams at home. Matthew Stafford, obviously Super Bowl experience. Cooper Kupp, Super Bowl experience. Sean McVay, Super Bowl experience. I just think the experience for the Rams is too much, and I think they'll edge out the Vikings, even though it's going to be a back and forth game, high scoring, a lot of passing touchdowns to Jefferson, to Nakua, to Kupp. But I'm going to take the Rams here, even though I like the Vikings a lot.
Okay, I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to say the apprentice becomes the master. I think Kevin O'Connell really has become the difference in Minnesota. He was part of that Super Bowl run with the Rams, obviously a key piece to that, in my opinion. And I do think the way that offense is playing, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Aaron Jones have been incredible weapons this year. Sam Darnold has played a better year than Matt Stafford this year. And that Brian Flores defense can shut anybody down. That's the matchup I want to see the most this week. I want to see the mind of Brian Flores against the mind of Sean McVay and the way they can scheme things up. We've mentioned the term chess match multiple times. This is the ultimate chess match. This is the 4D chess match right there. The layers, I think this is going to be the most. That's what I think makes this matchup so compelling. And ultimately, I think it's the combined minds of Flores and O'Connell that make the difference, in my opinion, and why I'm taking Minnesota in this rematch, who I think could have won the original had they called that face mask.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the game I'm most looking forward to. But that ends the whole football weekend we have on a nice Monday night, back to school Monday night. So
oh yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's a lot to look forward to and love about these two teams, and I do think any of these teams can make the championship game. So it'll be very interesting. Now that you said it, it's gonna very much lighten up my Monday. I mean, I'm gonna be sitting through classes, and just the night's gonna be what's gonna get me going.
Exactly. Anyway, that concludes our segment here for the wild card weekend. But let's take a look at the whole playoff predictions. We'll walk through this ESPN picker. Let me pull it up right here. All right.
ESPN treating us right here.
Okay, you can go first if you want here.
Okay, I'm gonna start us off. I already talked about this one. I'm taking the Chargers. We're gonna speed run through the first round because we've already talked about them all. I unfortunately am going with Baltimore and the Bills. That's not unfortunate. That's I have said the Vikings, the Buccaneers, and for inferences, I'm expecting both Love and Hurts to play, so I'm going with Philly. Now in the AFC, I'm taking an upset to start us off. I think the rust, I don't know what it is. The Chargers were close twice. I'm feeling Harbaugh's a big game guy. I'm taking the Chargers.
Wow.
And then here, I think Baltimore. I think this is where the Lamar Jackson playoff struggles come. They're playing on the road. Buffalo got embarrassed by Baltimore once. They won't let that happen again. I'm going with the Bills. And the NFC side, I think it's a rematch, and I think the Lions showed how much they outclassed the Vikings. And I do think, while I think this game will be close, I don't think the Vikings can pull it off, and I'm going with Detroit. As they get healthier, they get better. Here, I'm gonna roll with the Bake Show. Yeah. I think the Bake Show, like we said, I think they can beat anybody. They've beat some elite teams already, and well, we got some strange looking, some conference championships some people don't expect. We're going with the Super Bowl. They all expect. I have the Bills and the Lions. I think they've been the two best teams this year so far, and I'm going to stick with them for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And then Super Bowl Sunday, I do think it's going to come down to Josh Allen. He's going to play like Superman, shows that he's the MVP, and he's going to win Buffalo their first ever Super Bowl.
You said Bills who? Sorry?
Lions. Bills, Lions, sorry.
Bills. That's what I thought. Yeah, I just want to make sure. All right, I like it. There's a lot of games. I'll go through mine and then I'll discuss more. All right.
Obviously, these are subject to change. Who knows what things will happen. Obviously, other teams might win wild card round, but this is just how I see things happening right now.
Yep. It does. Have you heard the Super Bowl color thing? The Bills
I have heard the Super Bowl the theory.
Do the Bills match the color of the Super Bowl? I forgot what it is.
Oh, I don't know. Let's look up the logo.
I think it is like bluish. I'm pretty sure it's bluish.
Sorry, I have to do the I'm not a robot.
No,
it is red and green.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
So it's Kansas, Philly, theoretically again.
Or Packers.
Or Packers. Well, no, because there's no one in the AFC with green.
Oh, yeah, you're true. All right. I'll go right into mine here. I am going to take the Chargers as well. Ravens, like we all said. Bills. I'm going to take the Rams. Bucks and Eagles. Obviously, it could change with the quarterback news, but as of now, I think both quarterbacks are going to play a big playoff game. Two great teams, so I think they'll get their quarterbacks out there no matter the cost, or they'll try their best to get them out there. So I'm going to pick the Eagles. Then I'm going to take the Chiefs. I just think Mahomes in the playoffs are a different animal. The Chiefs have owned the Chargers in the recent years, even though I do like the Chargers a lot. I know it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but the Chiefs are just something different. Then I'm going to go with the Bills, as you did. Obviously, the Ravens went in there on a Monday night and blew them out, but I think the Bills are the better team. They're at home. I'm going to take the Bills here. And then I'm going to go shocking upset here. I'm going with the Rams.
I like that.
I'm going with the Rams. I
like that.
We've all heard how much I like the Lions, but I just think Stafford gets his revenge on the Lions from week 1. They pushed them to the edge, and I just think the Rams have gotten better since then. The Lions are a little banged up, even though I think Montgomery may be back by that game. I still think
Puka got hurt early that game, though. They didn't have Puka that game.
Exactly. And I think the Rams' passing attack is going to be too much with this depleted Detroit defense, even though they may have some guys back. I still think the Rams and their experience and McVay's mind are going to get that done. And then I'm going to pick the Eagles to beat the Bucks. And here I'm going to do a little rematch. Chiefs versus Eagles. And for the first time ever, I'm going to have a three-peat Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. I picked them to win the last 2. I don't pick against Mahomes, kind of like Brady. So I'm just going to keep doing it till it's broken, to be honest. I know it's boring. If the Cowboys were in here, I would be more interesting. But I'm going
the Cowboys, Chargers are breaking it.
Right.
Let me redo mine. Steelers are beating the Ravens. Steelers are beating the Chiefs. Steelers are beating the Bills, and the Steelers are beating the Lions, and they're winning it all.
Okay, sounds good.
Nothing else matters. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
I mean, that's the hope.
That's the dream.
All right. That concludes our segment here of the NFL. Let's move on to the two semifinal games. This Notre Dame game is set to begin in less than an hour or 2 hours, excuse me. So let's go straight into that game, analyze it real quick. Can the luck of the Irish push Notre Dame to the championship?
Well, it looks like the luck of the Irish has turned very negative with the flu game that is now swirling through the Notre Dame locker room. I do think that plays an impact, whether some important players are out or not. The flu game, not a lot of people play like Michael Jordan did. That's strange. That's the abnormal thing. I do think it weakens them a little, and I do think that game was close enough to where this makes a difference. And because of that, I'm going to flip what I felt from the moment Notre Dame beat Georgia. Today, I am feeling the Penn State Nittany Lions winning this game because I think this was a close game. I think that both defenses are very incredible, especially Notre Dame's. But because of this, I think I favored both Notre Dame and both sides of the ball previous to today. No flu, I'm taking Notre Dame. The flu changes things for me, and I'm taking Penn State. And I favor Drew Aller over Riley Leonard 10 out of 10 times.
I think Riley Leonard, Michael Jordan, they're kind of
They're kind of the same thing.
Yeah. But hey, Dirk Nowitzki had a great flu game in the finals too.
True.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Notre Dame. Obviously, before the playoffs started, I had Notre Dame, Ohio State in the final, and I've correctly picked 3 out of 4 finalists. I could have picked Penn State, but I was trying to be different. But anyway, I don't think Penn State's a championship caliber team. I think Notre Dame is. Besides this flu thing that's going around, I saw a report that everyone's okay except Jeremiah Love earlier in the weeks had some heavy sickness, but everything is positive now coming out of there. They had the flu. Obviously, they might still have a little sickness, but I think they'll be ready to go. I saw James Franklin kind of like taking shots a little. Morgan Freeman, I think he's going to get his boys ready. And, I mean, they were like subtle shots. It wasn't like direct. He was like,
the conference stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not trying to take shots, but like them said something like that seems like he's trying to.
So, like you said, I favor Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame better. I like their coach better. I like their coach a lot. I like that offense. I'd pick Notre Dame, like you said. The flu's having more of an impact on me. That's changing my judgment.
I respect that. I'm just gonna stick with my pre-tournament pick, and I did like how Notre Dame played both games, even though Penn State looked impressive as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Notre Dame here, and the Irish make it to the championship for the first time since 2011, 2010? When was it?
Yeah, against Alabama, right?
Yeah, I forget what year it was.
I think it was 2011, around there. Definitely.
Yeah. Obviously, they lost, but yeah. All right, moving on to our Friday night playoff game. Here we got your Texas Longhorns versus his old team, the Ohio State Buckeyes. He was there for a semester, excuse me. Who you got in this game up there in Dallas? It's going to be snowy in Dallas. Obviously, it's a closed arena. I don't think Jerry would open it if it's snowing, but you never know.
Previously, I would have said Texas, obviously. Now I'm going to take Texas hesitantly. Obviously, we've all seen what Ohio State has done the last 2 games. Michigan woke something up in them. They're playing unleashed. They're playing incredible. Jeremiah Smith is the best player in the playoffs so far. I'm going to stand by that no matter who they're playing against. I think it's going to be very tough to shut him down. I think it's going to be very hard to do. So it's definitely going to be about minimizing damage. Although I do think it is possible. We saw Michigan do it without Will Johnson. So definitely a test to what guarding him by committee, double teams, scheming him out of the game, I think is the way they have to do it. Obviously, they have Jahdae Barron, who maybe could be a way to do it. But I do think scheming Jeremiah Smith out of game is the best way to do it. And then I think you're going to have to out-physical them at the line of scrimmage. That's got to be the main thing. Cameron Williams is back on the offensive line, and then I do think that defensive line is going to have to take advantage of anything on that Ohio State defensive line and offensive line, and that Ohio State offensive line is hurt a little, so that does impact me. I do think Texas can out-physical them there. And then offensive line of Texas, I do think they are capable of out-physicaling them, which I think is the key. So because of that, I know if somebody's going to show out, though, it's going to be Jack Sawyer, who's going to want to sack his former roommate in Quinn Ewers. I do think, though, this game is going to be very close. Obviously, I don't want to say honestly, I probably should be favoring Ohio State. Maybe there is a little bias, who knows? But I'm taking Texas because I do think they're on any given day. I think these might be the two most explosive teams that on any given day can drop 100 points, but they are also the teams that could have a bad day, as we've seen them have.
Yeah, I don't think there's bias in your analysis. I think when they're playing at their best, them with Georgia, they're the three best teams in the country. But obviously, the inconsistency is what happened so far this season with especially y'all. Well, honestly, with Georgia too, with all three teams, you've seen the lowest of the lows. Obviously, I think the best thing to happen to Ohio State is losing to Michigan. They got all that hate, and it's just woken them up, and they've gone like a buzzsaw machine going through Tennessee and absolutely destroying the team everyone had as a favorite and winning the whole thing most people have, and literally destroying and beating the brakes off them. Obviously, I picked Ohio State to win the whole thing. Like I said with Notre Dame, I'm going to stick with my pick. Obviously, how they played these past two games have helped my case. So I am going to pick Ohio State, but I do not like that 6-point spread. Like we were talking about pre-show, I was shocked when I saw that. I do think it's going to be a very close game. I think Texas will win the line of scrimmage, so that's why I can see they can win this game. But I just think even if you double team Jeremiah Smith, Ibuka is going to get loose. And what I saw from Texas against Arizona State concerned me a little bit with how Michael Tapp was getting torched. And then I don't trust Burt. We were laughing a lot during that game. So at the end of the day, I'm going to pick Ohio State in a close game. I wouldn't be shocked if Texas.
It's probably going to come down to Burt again, and we're going to be down 2. We're going to have this incredible 90-yard drive, going to get it in. It's going to be a 35-yarder from the middle. We're down 2 seconds left. Incredible play. Burt's going to hit Bond, or Quinn's going to hit Bond down the sideline. Oh, incredible toe drag, timeout. Burt's getting out there, and he's just going to hit a triple doink, upright, crossbar out.
Yeah. I will say I was more impressed with Quinn in that fourth quarter of that Arizona State game in overtime. Obviously, he didn't help him. He let his team down twice to field goal range, but his kicker couldn't get the job done. And then that 4th and 13th, just ice in his veins. Obviously, it's all out blitz, and Golden was still open, but it was still good job hanging in the pocket and finding the open guy and saving the season, basically. I think it's going to be a good game, but I'm going to stick with my preseason pick and back myself and go with Ohio State. But I think it's not a 6-point spread. I would go more like 2 for Ohio State, and I would give Texas chance of winning 42%. I think it's going to be a really close game.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, you always got to count the fact that the Cotton Bowl is going to be somewhat of a home field advantage for Texas, just like Atlanta is for Georgia, stuff like that. So
I agree, but I also know Ohio State fans travel well. So
they travel well. They do travel. Did you see the story of the Ohio State fans that looked at the bracket wrong and they're in Miami today?
Really?
Yeah, they thought they were going to the Orange Bowl.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. They're not the brightest people in the tool. You guys haven't met.
Academics.
Yeah. All right. Let's move right into our best bets and headlines here. I'll start us off. For best bets, like I said, Notre Dame -1. I'm going to back it. I'm not going to back Ohio State to cover the 6, so I'm going to choose Notre Dame to back here. Just 1 point. It's basically them winning, so I am going to take that. And then I got the Steelers +9.5. I'm going to back your team here. I just don't think they lose that bad, especially in a divisional game, and the games so far have been close. And 2 very well coached teams and very disciplined teams. I think 9.5 is too many, so I'm going to take the Steelers to cover that. And then I'm going to take the Bucks -3. I think they'll win this game. So I don't mind laying a field goal here. And I just think they'll win from like 5 to 10 points. So I don't mind laying the -3. If it gets under 2.5, I'll be way more over that.
Yeah.
And lastly, in that great game, I want to have something on it. I'm not confident on which team, but I do think there's going to be a lot of points here. So I'm going to take the over 48 with the Rams and Vikings. I think they'll air the ball out and there'll be a lot of points scored in that game.
I like that. And I like that you're taking chances. You need to make a comeback.
Exactly.
We can't have a late season collapse over here on my side, though.
Yeah.
For my picks, I'm going one you've already endorsed. I'm taking the Texas plus 6.0. Like I said, I think Texas is winning outright, but even someone who is taking Ohio State and has taken Ohio State from the moment they were looking terrible against Michigan and couldn't even use the perimeter, he's stuck with them, and he's endorsing this pick, so I'm taking it. Like I said, I do think Texas can dominate the line of scrimmage, and I do think that is what can keep this game close no matter what. So I am taking the Texas covering. And then on the NFL side of things, I'm taking the Chargers -3. I've talked about how that Jesse Minter defense, how I really like it, how Jim Harbaugh has managed to shut down C.J. Stroud multiple times before, and I think this continues. Even just because of the weakness Texans have showed this year. I mean, they've played some games they shouldn't have been in, Tennessee games like that, and I think that's very concerning. And meanwhile, I think the Chargers are capable of great things this year. I obviously have a ton of faith in Justin Herbert, and I love the way Lambeau Ladd's gotten going. And that offense, Halt and Slater, incredible tackles. I really think they can keep anything from touching Herbert. So I'm taking the Chargers to cover.
That's fair. I'll go straight into my headlines. LA Chargers past the Texans, kind of same as your best bet, but I just have them winning in my headline. I wouldn't mind laying the 3. It just scares me a little bit, so I just said they're going to win it. So that's my headline. And then lastly, I got the Midwest battle for the national championship, kind of what I mentioned. I think it's going to be Notre Dame, Ohio State. It's what I picked pre-tournament. It's what I think the games are going to end up this next 2 days. So that's my second headline.
Oof, be careful on those joint headlines. I did one of those one time, and A&M sold against Auburn.
I know, but I didn't want to double. Technically, I'm doubling up on Notre Dame, but I didn't want to just pick Ohio State since they're
yeah.
It's kind of cheap.
For my first headline, I have the Bake Show must go on. I mean, we looked at the playoff bracket. You saw where I have the Buccaneers going, and I think they can handle business again against the Commanders this week. We went into it a lot more detail earlier, and that's really my explanation for it. And I expressed it again of my concerns of this earlier when we previewed this game. My second headline is the flu game fumbles, natty chance for the Irish. I do think that does make a difference in a game that I predicted to be very close, and I previewed the teams defensively and offensively to be very, very close. And I do think this eventually, unfortunately for Notre Dame, pushes the edge to the Nittany Lions for me.
Perfect. Sorry, a little long episode, but there's a lot to cover here with a lot of football being played, a lot of playoff, a lot of big games. But we're back after today. We're going to go back to our little Monday, Tuesday, Friday action. Just a 1 weeker this week, but we'll be back in rhythm after the holidays. But thank you all for watching. Enjoy this great football playoffs. Let us know in the comments who you think's going to win the whole national championship and the Super Bowl, honestly, if you want.